It's the same system, so.
Every other
It seems to be
year we
working
take
out.
everybody. That's kind of the.
So that's the.
Yeah.
Turn
They-
it on.
When the kids come back, it's just gotta be like, have a good night.
I remain on the basement.
I'll come around.
It's an obstacle.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Great, yourself?
See, good.
Told you, Lori.
I'm sorry?
Bring it up.
And
Told
you
you,
came
Lori.
kind of all matched,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Like,
fine.
right?
That's what's in that.
Move it all down.
Planned, right?
Yeah, bring it home.
Worked out. Yeah, I was kind of like, wow, did they plan this? Yeah.
All right. I think we're all set. I think we're live. I think we're good.
Let me turn my phone.
You guys are ready?
Hi.
Evening. I unexpectedly had to retire replaced.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, but they worked us in at 4, but it just made things tighter. Yeah, and it was really nice. We did, first time we've ever got our tires replaced at Sam's on my husband's truck, and they rotate and
Yeah, they're good.
flats free charge, so I didn't even have to pay anything. It was kind of like
Oh,
So- 2 thumbs up. I was, you're short staffed like everywhere, but I was really impressed when I went to get my tires changed and again today, they did a great job, so. So, I'm ready.
Everybody ready? Okay. All right. Calling the September 6, 2022 work session for the Bethel Board of Education to order at 5:31 p.m. Ladies and please call the roll.
Mrs. Mansfield,
Here.
Mrs. Sebastian,
Here.
Mr. Elam,
Here.
Mrs. Donahue,
Here.
Mrs. Springs is not with us this evening.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Any additions to the agenda? Looks like we moved the superintendent discussion and the campground trip, and I don't have items to do, but it's on there. Any other additions to the agenda this evening?
I did send some suggestions in. I don't know if we have time or we can add those. I sent an email, didn't know if that would be worthy of discussion today, but the first one being, should we talk about, if we could talk about, if we wanted to discuss meeting with the Bethel Township trustees as part of our continued community connection with that. And then the second thing, I know at the workshop meeting, there was a parent at the end of the meeting who had some questions, but I in general, I'd like to know if we could discuss how things are going with the new growth that came in this year. How are the teachers doing and how is the building space, in general, how's that going? And then the third thing, I just wanted to mention a meeting that I attended last Wednesday at the New Carlisle City Council for the annexation proposal that is being reviewed in that meeting.
So I'll let Mr. Crispin comment on the population update because I wouldn't have that data if I tried. Is that something that we're gonna put off at the regular meeting? So that-
Yeah,
One chance or-
that was gonna be part of my superintendent's message, which if you wanna do a preemptive, we can, otherwise that was gonna be part of my address
Part
at the
of,
regular meeting.
at the regular.
Yeah. I didn't see, I thought we were getting used to the meeting formats here, that this was for, just reviewing the items that we were recommending, not so much reporting out on. But I can talk a little bit about it, just off the cuff.
I think that as long as it shows up on the meeting agenda for next time, I know.
It's under the
It's under your-
superintendent's report, yeah, because that is, been consuming a lot of time, and, I certainly want to bring the board up to speed with that.
And I think what prompted me is the nice email with the some of the numbers of students in attendance, the kickoff of that. So I wondered if you were going to be talking about it
Yep.
today, but I didn't see it, so I thought I would ask.
Yeah,
In your plan for
as part of
next
the
Monday?
superintendent's report, where hopefully I don't put people to sleep talking about everything that's been going on since the upcoming school.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, that would be fine.
And then your other two items, Ms. Donahue, we can definitely put as items, I guess A and B would be under item 8 for items for discussion for the trustee work session and annexation update that you want to give. I assume that's something you're providing because you'll do the annexation update, correct?
Yes.
I haven't seen that, I haven't heard it. So, yep, those can be put under item 8, A and B for this evening. If everybody's okay with that, we're about to vote on the agenda, so any other questions or things to be added? Oh, thank you. Yeah, we do. Oh, it's not early, that's what I'm saying.
Well, we do.
Here's a good approval agenda.
So out of curiosity, are we doing the superintendent search first, or are we gonna do it at the end?
Yeah, that also came through as a message that there's so many things where they have some candidates they'd like to talk with us about, as well as some salary session, so we'll have that conversation in executive session.
So okay, that was not
So
what I was
it got moved.
No
Yeah,
problem.
sorry. So,
I just wanted to make sure we weren't doing that now.
Right.
Okay, no problem.
I think the right sounds good, something to do with that part. Okay. That's better. Good. Anything further to be added to the agenda? Anyone? All right. In that case, we will move to item 3, which is the review and approval of agenda. So it sounds like we did a pretty good review just now. Rhonda. And we need to approve the agenda for this evening. It doesn't show as a vote, but we always vote and approve our agenda nowadays. So is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move.
Thank you, Mrs. Sebastian. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead. You've already moved, sorry. Yeah.
We're pretty relaxed here. What is it?
Well, I may have missed an email or when we talked about adding this to our agenda items. Is there the intent of that is to approve what agenda we said, so that means, what does that mean in the middle of the meeting? We are not allowed to add any other items or pull anything out and vote? I just wondered what that
I don't know that it
means.
necessarily means that. I mean, per Robert's rules, I think you can always vote to add things and change things and amend things. That's just a Robert's rules thing, but to proceed with the meeting, we just say, okay, this is what we plan to talk about, so everyone's aware that that's the plan. In the course of discussion, things are always subject to change. I think that's standard procedure, right? That makes sense, right?
And so I know this was added in July. I just wondered why, what prompted it to come up?
Again, it's just kind of a Robert's rules thing. You're never really supposed to start a meeting under Robert's Rules of Order unless you actually approve the agenda and everyone's aware of what it is. So we're just clarifying our processes and getting better. And as we have professionals come in who say, this is how it's supposed to be run and this is how you should have been doing it probably for the last how many years, we're just tidying those things up. So.
Perfect, thank you.
Just,
Yeah, we should have been doing this historically, apparently, or according to Robert's rules. Yeah. So we're trying
if you
to,
get a book, it'll tell you, the book will
Yeah.
tell you to do that.
Yeah.
We just never did.
okay, that's why. I just wondered why it prompted the change within our board. But thank you.
Also,
Thank you. Second from Danny. Any further discussion? Are we good? Okay, when you're ready, please call the roll.
Mrs. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mrs. Sebastian,
Yes.
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
4-0, the agenda is approved. Let's see. Okay, and then hearing of the public on agenda items, I saw a paper coming across the table. Mrs. Reese.
Not many years first. Okay, so I just had some questions on the items I'm hoping that you can address as you talk about the items. Well, one was the superintendent search because it disappeared, of course, and went to executive session, so I'm okay with that as long as it's salaries and names. Good deal, if it's strategy, that's not. My first question was, what is a drama supplemental? This was in the middle school, it's usually drama advisor, is this something new? It just said drama, but it was,
Yeah,
it's a drama supplemental, it's not.
It's for the middle school musical.
The middle school music. Okay. So I didn't I don't know, maybe this isn't a question, but it was a little concern that there's an intervention specialist that's also going to be a home instructor. Just concerned that that may cause burnout. I don't know what hours she usually works, but just a question there that it doesn't seem like we've done that before, where I'm assuming the home instructor needs after hours. So I don't know, just a comment on that. And then what assignment is the student worker going to be doing? There was nothing about the role, it just said hire as a student worker. And the head girls basketball coach salary went from 1129 in the original agenda that was out there yesterday. And today it was 4516. So I'm sure that's probably,
No, I'll answer that. I put a placeholder of 1129 in there and forgot about it, and needed to go back. So when I went back and looked at the,
it's in the
salary schedule in the negotiated agreement, that's what went up there for 22-23. So
okay, that's what I wondered.
we're sort of training Shelley at the same time, and I lost my place, so that's my fault.
And then the long-term substitute pay, is this in here because it's an increase? Or, I don't remember putting that in there before, so that's what I was asking. And if so, what are the old numbers? And then, I also had a question on the plan for all the new students that are here, but I guess if you're gonna address that the next time, and we're not adding to the end of this time, I'll say that. That was it.
Respective folks can touch on those items as they come up in their discussion, is that okay? Great. Thank you. Sure, awesome. Item 5, important dates of district. We haven't done it yet. Nope, that's okay. That's okay. So, I mean, everybody just needs to remember that we're still training the new executive secretary. And Tina's trying to find 2 minutes in the day to train for 2 people that she's working with training plus that. So, you know, there's just a little things like that. So the calendar dates will be added as soon as possible. So, anyone wants to know, got anything coming up they want to talk about? Since we have a minute. All right. Into item 6, treasurer's items. So Nathan, you're ready.
Okay, so we're gonna have, hopefully, have minutes for August 2nd, August 8th, August 25th. And so those will be ready shortly, hopefully, for your approval. And then review the Montgomery County ESC contracts for special education services. This is for the youth partial hospitalization, vision services, physical therapy, and I remember ED, emotional.
Safe.
Yeah. Can't remember what it's called. So then payment of bills, I'm working on getting everything reconciled and ready to go. And then the monthly financial report. And then we have a wonderful list of donations that were received in August for your approval, next meeting. And then we'll have an amended certificate, which is an amended estimate of all our revenues and an amended budget with any changes that we have, increases and reductions across the board. So.
Questions, discussion? I presume the ESC things were added because we had a change in population of complement as opposed to being included in all the other contracts at the beginning of the year. Is that-
And then, yeah, we aren't, we're not in Montgomery County. So sometimes it takes a little while to get those contracts. So we had to go hunt them down. So there they are, everyone's approval, so.
And are we doing these through Montgomery County because they don't have those services in Miami County, or?
I would have to defer to Mr. Cochran. Those are his contracts. I do not know.
Well, if you could just, if you would send Mr. Cochran a note answer at the board meeting, I'd just be
Sure.
curious, because I know we standardized a lot of the contracts back to Miami County ESC. My guess is those are over beyond what they could cover, but I just wanted to check if that was still the case.
Any other questions, concerns, discussion? Well, thank you, Mrs. Hickman. That's item 6. Moving to item 7, superintendent's items. Mr. Crispin.
Thank you, Madam President. Okay, so item A is going to be just an updated sub list for both certified and certificated. I think they're all certificated personnel. So we added, or I'm recommending an additional 15 days for our guidance counselors. They were swamped, they are swamped, they will be swamped. And I think going, if we're able to roll out central registration next summer, they're going to be a key part of that as well. So just makes sense to go ahead and get those days in now. Degree status change, self-explanatory. Home instruction, the question from a public participatory person there, Julie, is it's hard to get home instructions, folks to do that. And sometimes folks are looking to pick up extra funds and get your concern, but we don't twist arms. Folks have to apply and say, yes, we want to do this. So if they're willing to do it, they understand they have to self-regulate. So but we'll make sure we keep an eye on. Classified personnel, no comment there. Our student workers, just to help out. Really, our cafeteria staff being down, we need additional help, especially during lunchtime. Cleaning up tables, wiping tables down in between, because it happens fast for the next school or group gets in. So glad to get additional set of hands to help out. Congratulate Danny Gillen III, having our next head girls basketball team. He's excited, we're excited, and we interviewed both Danny and his wife Rachel, because Rachel was the one that's left holding the bag during the season, and that's how we kind of concluded our interview with her. So we'll let you know after we talk to your wife. But they're all on board. We're anxious to see a new young head coach take over our program. Volunteers, nothing to add. Overnight trip, the Camp Kern trip, I guess was previously an overnighter. Now it's a 2-dayer, but we went ahead and put that on there so we could call that for your attention. Long-term sub really came out of a discussion. As you know, we have a kindergarten teacher who is going to be leaving us due to a spouse being finding employment in another state. And so have a sub take over for, first 60 days, really no curriculum. They're going to be responsible for the curriculum, grading tests, parent conferences, the whole bit. 100 days or $100 a day, which is our current sub pay. Past that 30 days, we just felt like we wanted to do more. So they got to that day 61 where they get the prorated teacher's salary. There's not a lot of people lining up to do that or have the capability to do that. So kind of created this alternative category for long-term subs, situations like this, so we can attract somebody like the person we were able to attract that has a teaching license that's expired. She has some work to do. I'm not sure she's going to do it, but she's willing to help us out. So that's why I'm recommending that to the board.
Any discussion from the board?
Mr. Crispin, so that'll go then towards any long-term sub,
But yes,
or only if they're certified, or any person who's a sub and who's been qualified at the county level.
substitute for a teacher, yes.
Yes, okay, thank you.
more than 30 days, obviously, right?
Right.
If they're, just here for a week or something, it wouldn't apply, it wouldn't be something that would be a thing.
No, I know they have to apply to be a long-term sub and they have to have extra. But, they might just be, I don't mean might just be, but, they could have a different career path normally and not be a certified teacher is what I was trying to confirm.
Sure, yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And then just had the review of the volunteers. Mr. Jackson, is he gonna be, a volunteer for the boys or the girls? Basketball.
I'll have to double check with Mr. Smith. But yeah.
Or maybe both.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm not trying, yes. Yep.
On the overnight trips, we may need to talk to Damon Smith tonight, because I thought we were supposed to be approving the Tiffin trip in this meeting, because that's coming up Friday, overnight into Saturday. And I think it might have slipped off. Something may have gotten lost in the communication. But I apologize, I didn't notice it wasn't on here, and
Yeah.
he had submitted it late before the last meeting, and it's not on the agenda. So,
Follow up.
but we will need, if that's true, we will need to vote on that tonight, so I don't want anybody to be surprised. I apologize, I didn't catch it earlier.
Friday, this Friday night.
Yes, so that may have slipped through the cracks. I should have caught it.
No, I should have too. So my son's actively going to it, so, and I didn't think about it. I guess you just think it's already been approved. You don't
Yeah.
think about
It was supposed to be on the last agenda and the deadline got missed, and then I think with everything else, it just,
Okay. So we may have her.
yes,
On the one,
yes.
thank you for pointing that out in suspension. Any other discussion for the superintendent's items?
So just, I know there's the Disney trip, there's the, there's, a Costa Rica, Costa Rica. And then potentially the baseball and the softball teams, all four would be over that same week, which is for quite a few students that might be in, the community that week. Just wanted to make sure that we were tracking all four, because the Costa Rica, I believe, was actually approved as the last board group, last calendar
That's been a
year.
while.
I think it was early this year, with the Disney, maybe not, maybe it was last year.
It would, I just,
Disney went back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Costa Rica.
First I've heard of trips, so.
I don't think we ever did approve Costa Rica. I don't really think.
I don't know.
Because I think part of that is it's really not technically a school-sponsored trip. It's not part of Spanish. It was just more of an opportunity of, hey, there's this company that's doing this thing. And if you want to go, you may sign up for it. And it's sponsored through educational tours or something like that. So really, they're the guides and they're the ones doing the tour. That's what my understanding was, that it wasn't necessarily a school-sponsored trip necessarily. But maybe I don't understand that right, which happens all the time. So, but we can track it down and find out if it needs to be approved or not. Yeah,
Check it out.
absolutely.
Thank you for the additional days for guidance counselors. That's something we've done for the last few years.
Anything further? Move to our items for discussion. So you want to do the trustee meeting first? Trustee meeting and the annexation update. So, meeting with trustees. So we've had some proposed dates put before us for the trustees meeting. September 20th, I believe, and then 26th and 27th. Does that sound right to everybody? Dates that were put before us. My thought was just personally, I'll speak on it since, it's one of the things that I've messaged some folks about to see what their availability was. With our superintendent search getting ready to kick off and all of the added meetings and responsibilities that are going to come with that, it was my thought that we might be able to ask the trustees if they'd be okay with waiting until we get through that process so that we can give it our complete undivided attention. If the board feels differently though, there's an indicated to you guys, I don't make the decisions for the board. I simply suggest like anyone else would. So I just wanted to throw it out there. I did in the message, and anyone else discussing it here, since I hadn't heard from everyone. What are your thoughts? Your availabilities, what's your timeline? You know, either at the end of this month or, you know, looking forward into October when this sort of really heats up and is, that's where our primary stuff is. And of course, November gets through holidays, December is holidays, and so on and so forth, so. Thoughts?
I think it would be more beneficial to wait till the beginning of 2023 to give Mr. Crispin time to get his feet wet and kind of figure some things out. Because he's our leader right now, and to have a discussion about all of this stuff right now is a little premature until he gets more familiar with the topics at hand, right? And as you said, we're gonna be super busy. That would be my preference.
I would prefer to wait. All the suggestions that I saw in the email are things that can be found on the website. And from updates, from superintendent's updates and so forth. So I'm good to wait.
I truly believe a 15 to 30-minute meeting anytime in September buys us, it actually is an opportunity for Mr. Crispin to come up to speed with everything. And there's annexation things that are happening now that he may or may not be familiar with. And I agree, his plate is very, very full. I completely understand, but I don't think it would hurt to have a short meeting. Trustees might be willing to come to one of our meetings half hour ahead of time, maybe even next workshop meeting or something. And that might be good to tide him over until after the new year, once we get through all the superintendent search. It just helps give him that lockstep with the community. And it's true, you can read minutes, but sometimes minutes don't capture the whole context of everything. And so it's an invitation to invite him into more of some of the trustee activities and the community, because we should show combined joint effort with the community. But that would be my proposal if one of the dates in September doesn't work, because it is an extra meeting for them as well. And everybody's busy. They're busy, we're all busy, but I'd like to see it go forward. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
You think, Matt? Well,
I was just about to say, what do you think, Matt?
actually, I have it on my calendar next week.
At the meeting?
I don't know if that's what we had talked about. I don't know how I got that date. But I have Bethel Township trustee meeting. 7:30. I was gonna show up and introduce myself. Say hey. That's not formal meeting, but I was gonna go introduce myself, so.
That's the original.
Yeah.
Question from the audience. Mrs. Reese?
Trustee that.
Right.
So I was just gonna suggest the same thing, if the trustee, if it would be easier for you guys, for the trustees to come here. I'm sure that we can do that. It is an extra meeting for us either way. So I think last time we spent about 15 minutes talking. So if you just add it to a meeting, that would be fun too. 7 o'clock though.
Thank you.
My other concern is we talk about community, but Bethel Township is only part of our community. So, I mean, at some point, we need to think about whether we're going to also do this with the city of Cooper Heights.
Thank you.
As it's a public meeting, anybody can attend, but that is a consideration. And before you know it, we might be having one with the new Carlisle City as well.
It makes sense.
Before you know it.
But I think we need to be careful not presuming the township is the only entity here. Because it's one of many, or one of two right now.
Yeah, and the annexation is just heavy on my mind, but there's other things going on. So,
Well, I mean, I know that the dates that have been proposed so far are not great for me, I personally. I don't know where everyone else stands on those dates and you said that you might be willing to come to us, whether, did you do? a work
I don't
session?
see why we couldn't, assuming that, same thing, that everybody can make a date. But I mean, if the meeting's already set, I can just ask them if they
Well,
want to
that's
do
what I
that.
said, can we throw those dates out to Beth and to Dawn and yourself and take a look at your calendars and see if any of those work for you at a work session where it's more time to talk, more relaxed? Would that be okay?
You want it to be a work session?
That's when we
That's what we
did
did the last
this.
time. Was that okay?
Work session.
Yeah, yeah, we absolutely.
Okay.
I remember, that's one thing I do.
Is it okay on a regular session if that's the only dates that everybody can make? I mean, go for a work session first and.
Work session's ideal because we have usually much more time to talk and truly that's the benefit is when we can actually have a conversation, right? But if it has to be, it has to be, but I think that having it on a work session agenda is more preferable to adding an additional date at this point because we're about to get a bunch of dates. So, I mean, a bunch of dates. So, yeah. It's just, if it wasn't for that, honestly, it's never a problem with you guys. We enjoy talking with you guys. I think that's pretty much the consensus with everyone. We have no problem with that at all. But it's just we're going to be really, really busy for the ending future. And it's very important that we find the right, fit for the district and make sure the community's happy and that everyone's, comfortable with our superintendent moving forward. And then that's where I just think our focus needs to mostly be. So.
I agree.
So
I
we
think
got
a work session
Yeah,
would be all
I
right.
would
I would
prefer
hope, I
that.
would hope that we
Yes.
could actually keep it too short. So many things that we discuss are not.
I don't remember it going long last month.
Yeah, it was pretty, we had an agenda, we had things we wanted to talk about and, we always do, so, we'll do it that way. If that works and they're kind enough to come to us again, that would be fabulous. I would really appreciate it.
And Mrs. Reese, one thing I'd like an update on, I haven't talked to the township recently, is what the status of the softball fields are, at Friendship Park.
Okay.
Because those were supposed to be done this spring, and I don't know if maybe they are finished, I haven't been over there, but they were used field for two. I was just curious what the status was, and I know supply chain issues were the problem, so that may still be the case, but I'd just like a status update from Mr.
Okay, I
Earhart.
can add that.
Thank you.
Anything further regarding the meeting with the trustees? All right, so
Should
then,
we start it early?
sorry,
Should we start it early or keep it, start at the same time?
it's difficult.
I got no problem with this, I got no problem with
Yeah, I
this
was
next
gonna
one,
say,
except that
it might be-
I'd like to leave that night.
Yeah.
Go downstate.
So let's be.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing wrong with that, let's just
To
find out.
Mrs. Reese, what's wrong with that?
What, starting earlier? No, I was
Keep
just
it-
saying.
Or let's make sure that we keep it at 15 minutes
Yeah.
or short time, so that,
Yeah, that's fine,
all right.
that's fine.
Let's make sure everybody's available first, and then we can see if we can, if Mr. Black can get here sooner than 5:30, then we can have that discussion, of course, because we still have next Monday's meeting where we could firm that up, by then. Is that okay? 'Cause I just think that would be great to know that everyone. can be
We're
there,
meeting
you know.
tomorrow morning, so.
Yeah. And so we'll just solidify it, but for now, we'll say 5:30, whatever's the normal work session plan, unless if Mr. Black is available sooner, then great, but if not, probably it's not, you're not having a significant amount of time, but I would think our regular work session timeline could probably handle it if necessary, so. And still get you out for your travel safely. All right, anything further on that item? All right, then I turn it to you, Mrs. Donahue, for an update on the annexation.
Yeah, very quickly, I just wanted to share that I attended the New Carlisle City Council meeting. It was a special meeting held August 31st at 6:30 p.m. at the Smith Park Shelter House. And it was the DDC developer hearing for the northeast corner of Bethel Township, the development that is going to have 116 acres, potentially 2 home, I'm sorry, I was going to say my notes are on my phone here, I'm sorry. 250 homes potentially. And it looked like, if this gets approved and it goes to the county, they'll have another preliminary hearing. And they could start early 2023 with construction. And they said that they would have homes built within 6 months. So I wanted to get that out there just because that could potentially impact us for next fall, 2023, when the new building is opening. So just, again, just for thinking purposes, just to make everyone aware. I will say there was a packed house. There were New Carlisle city residents as well as Bethel Township residents. Their seating holds about 60 people, I believe, 60 to 65 people. There was a standing room, so only at that point, and there was about 22 or 23 people who spoke. All were against, and that was all spoke from both residencies, if you will, and all spoke against it. And there was one person who spoke who was neutral. So there was nobody speaking for the annexation, and one person spoke for having them consider trying to get those students into the Tecumseh School District, so that their community would be conjoined together, since they're all living as part of the same city, if you will. But the next meeting, so that was just a special hearing, and the next meeting, another special meeting that they will have, it is September 28th. And I'm assuming that's going to be at 6:30 again. But I just really wanted to put the timing out. The one thing is they think that it'll take 8 years to build that acreage out with homes. So, and they are single family homes is what they discussed, and 2 to 3, 4-bedroom homes. So just wanted to share that information.
And Natalie, I will add one point just to clarify for anyone who's listening. Back in April of 2022, Mr. Perks reached out to the superintendent of Tecumseh School District, Mrs. Paula Crew, and she indicated that Tecumseh Local Schools is near capacity for student enrollment as of today. The additional, this says 400 homes, maybe it's 200 homes, 250 homes, will be a concern for her district and the space they have available. She indicated that they have no interest in annexing, I guess it's RD1, that was the 293 homes or 250 homes. She has no interest in annexing that RD1 to Tecumseh Local Schools, despite what was mentioned as an option. So I just want to mention that, and I will forward you that email to you and Tina so that you have that. Yeah,
It's true. And part of that is based on the fact that New Carlisle is also has 2 other developments in the works. So this is potentially 3 others, I'm sorry. So this is potentially their 4th. So I just wanted to have all the facts out there. So it would make sense. I just wanted to share that one thing from the school perspective.
I just knew from my time teaching in Clark County that it's a packed house for sure. They can relate to our wounds when it comes to population. So.
But I just wanted to share that information so everybody was tracking the same dates and potential number of new students. But that's all. Thank you.
So that already sounds better.
well, maybe the 400 was the second development. I may have misread the email. I think Tecumseh has 2 developments and they're focused on the 400 that are in New Carlisle. Is that correct? There's another development occurring there.
There's 3 others.
Yes. So she felt like they were going to have all they could handle with those 400 homes, not to take on another 250, 300, whatever the housing is.
Right.
It'll vary, but they don't have the space.
Finalized, who knows?
At least as of April. I can't speak to current, but I can't imagine they've changed substantially in 6 months.
Anything further on annexation update for the board?
Sure.
Why not? Why not?
So I think I've said this before. we are not really in negotiations with them anymore, but we possibly could be. But we cannot negotiate anything on behalf of the school. So if you guys wanted anything from the developer, because I had talked to Keithler many times about, is it possible to get some sort of tax levy on new houses that would come directly to the school? Similar to infrastructure, right? If they're put in sewer and water and electrical, the homes typically pay that for, I don't know, 15 years or whatever the time frame is. And I had asked about that. Keithler said it is possible. This is what he told me at the time, but we can't negotiate that. You guys as a school board would have to get to the developer and negotiate that. And one of the comments that came up of the 22 people that spoke was asked about that. Is the school going to get anything? And they said, oh, no, we don't do that here. That happens in Florida as an example, in some other state maybe, but not here. And I'm like, not entirely true. So you guys should think about that. If you want something from that developer, maybe some, I don't know, something upfront donation or long-term tax, that you guys need to do that. We can't do that on your behalf, so just need to reiterate that.
Thank you.
And it probably had to be pretty soon, so. Only faster than we'd like.
I feel like I'm asking a lot of you this evening, Mrs. Reese. Do you have contact information for them that you could forward to Superintendent or do you know?
Not, actually.
I know I've heard their name, but I have no idea how to get in touch with them. I wouldn't know where to. Especially the individual, because usually developers have like a lot of people on staff and maybe there's one
Yeah.
specific to this
No, there's a
project.
guy that shows up. I mean, he's on
yeah.
he's on the recording, but I've never talked directly with him.
If we were gonna reach
Did you
out, we
know
would
his
need
name now?
that guy.
I know it's the same guy who shows up every month.
Yeah, we can probably get it from the council.
I have paperwork, I just don't have it here with me, I don't have it created to memory. It's in another
If any
folder.
conversations are gonna be had, we definitely need to know who we have to have that conversation with.
Right.
That would be handy
I'll-
information, so
I'll look.
would appreciate that.
Well, any tax incentive agreement where they're taking property taxes has to go before the board if it's gonna be for
Yes.
longer than 10 years or more than
Yes.
70%, so they have to get the board's approval. So,
This is not
If they're
property
doing-
tax, this would be an addition, like a
right, but if they're
assessment.
gonna offer them any kind of TIF agreement or anything like that, then they have to bring that to the board if it's gonna be longer than a specific period of time or for a certain percentage of the tax abatement. So if they say, we're gonna let you not pay property taxes for 10 years and, whatever, they have to present that to the board. It wouldn't be valid if the school board didn't vote on it. I gotta refresh
There's a
my
little more
memory.
update then.
Yeah, so,
We hold the TIF right now on the property,
uh-huh,
and they can't do a second one, but it doesn't become enforced until building starts, so there's some potential, something that could happen in there, but right now, the
mhm,
township holds the TIF on it, and of course, our intention would be to get 100% of the property tax.
right,
So I used the word tax, which was wrong because I couldn't think of the word. The word is assessment. They can put an assessment on the properties and get you extra money on top of what you would get. And hopefully if we do, that's one of the options is that we can turn the land over to them, just like Carriage Trail. So Carriage Trails is not in Bethel Township. So right now, the way this is going with the New Carlisle annexation, they would be dual citizens. They'd be in Bethel Township and the city of New Carlisle, which means they pay taxes and votes and, everything that comes with that. But we do hold the TIF at the moment. But if we give them the land and take that out of the township, then they would get property tax, and that's where the TIF would kick in, that hopefully the school would get. But yeah, the assessment, I meant to say assessment, I just.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Anything further?
Thank you. I appreciate everybody's time, thank you.
That works. All right, then at that point, we're ready to move to executive session. We need to go to executive session for item 1, discuss the employment of a public employee and compensation. Employment and compensation, I was reading some of this, I was like, where is it? I know it's here. Like, yes, employment and compensation of a public official, if there is a motion to do so.
Before we do that, did you hear back from Mr. Smith? Sorry, so
So there may be board
apologize.
action at the conclusion of executive session if we've heard from our athletic director about the trip that possibly needs approval for overnight trip. But that would be the only item that
I
we would.
apologize.
No,
I still
no, you're
wanna forget
good.
about that.
You're good, you're good. That'd be the only item that we may have to move on at the conclusion of executive session. So let me know if that's the case. Anything else we forgot? I forgot? Aye. All right, is there a motion for executive session for item 1 for compensation and employment of a public official? President Donahue. With the motion, is there a second?
I'll say.
Mr. Elam, thank you. Thank you both. Okay. Whenever you're ready. Statement, just
Mrs. Mrs. Sebastian,
Yes.
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Mrs. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
4-0 vote into executive session at 6:15 PM. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thanks, Julie, for your information and help.